number one source, Sports Card Nation. The hobby is the people. Sports Card Nation.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 304 of Sports Card Nation. Happy to be back. We have my friend Brad Askew back on the show for the conclusion of our great conversation we started on last week's episode. Brad's a super collector from Atlanta, Georgia. Eddie Murray is his subject of choice there, but he collects other stuff as well. We talk about that amongst other hobby things. Want to welcome our newest sponsor, the Penny Sleever. They make great products and supplies to protect our precious cards. I got to meet Isaac in Cleveland and got to sample some of those products and use them, right? I've always said on the show, we are not going to, if we have a sponsor, we're not going to have one where I wouldn't use that product. And I use the Penny Sleever supplies. Very affordable, very good, and do everything they're supposed to do. So check them out at pennysleever.com and code SCNation to save 10% off your order. So we're going to take a quick commercial break and then be back with Brad Askew.
Hi, I'm Isaac Albert, a longtime card collector and the co-founder of the Penny Sleever. My wife and I started the Penny Sleever with a simple premise in mind: to offer collectors top quality supplies at fair prices. We offer a full range of hobby supplies, and we'll get them to you fast. Whether you're looking for a 260-point magnetic for that oversized patch card, or a slew of semi-rigids for your next PSA submission, the Penny Sleever has you covered. Shop now at thepennysleever.com and use the promo code SCNation to get 10% off your first order. That's SCNation for 10% off at thepennysleever.com. The Penny Sleever. Top quality supplies, fair prices.
All right, now the conclusion of my conversation with my friend Brad Askew, continued from last week. Hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, I think I remember Tanner, he was a big Conseco guy, who does podcasts and stuff. I remember him talking about this became such an obsession. He's like, I got to check eBay 27 times a day and all that, just to try to get it. And yeah, after a while, it's exhausting, and it's like, I can't.
And it gets to an addiction point too. Like right. You mentioned, like, I'm checking 20, any kind of free moment, I'm grabbing my phone or logging on my computer. Right.
Right. Exactly.
And that again, to each their own, right? Hobby your way, all that stuff I like to say.
Of course.
But I like to enjoy my hobby, and I just go in it, on the Robinson. I collect Jackie Robinson and Hall of Fame graded rookie. Right. I know on both sides of those aisles, I'm never going to have every one of either one of those niches. Sure. And that's okay.
Right.
I get what I get, and when the music stops, it is what it is. I'm not going to stress, because if I'm stressing about it, I wanted a Seaver rookie 2 years ago at the National. Didn't happen. I got it this year. Right.
You and I talked about it. I was like, what are you looking for, John? And I was trying to find some for you. You could go find or look at.
Yeah. So I don't if it happens, great. If it doesn't, I get other stuff. Right. I mean, the worst thing that can happen is you walk out of there and you didn't buy anything, which is pretty rare. That's no good. That might make some stress, but I think you go in with the right mindset and you enjoy the process. You enjoy the cards you do get. You enjoy your collection. And I think most people, I'm probably preaching to the choir to most people. I think most people have that approach, especially nowadays with all these new releases. It's hard to keep up. And
you can't even get to. I'll show
you. Even if you want, I don't even care if you have an unlimited bankroll. It's still hard. Go ahead.
Here's your Jackie. You can see this is actually one of my prized possession cards. I've had this going back to my dad. My dad and I bought this back in the 80s. This is I actually got it graded on a Beckett holder a long time ago, and it's a 6, which I don't have mine handy, but that's a higher grade than the one I have. So
I want to trade. I think I got a 3 I'd give you.
Exactly. I absolutely adore it. I love it. I love it. And I know that it's probably a card. As I mentioned earlier, my son's not really into the cards. My daughter liked the movie 42. This card will probably be my daughter's one. So I mean, I love that. I'd love to get all of Jackie's vintage cards from back then, but as you know, my goodness, I had most of them back in the day, but my dad and I sold off with a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, here's the thing. I don't have every one of even his playing days one. I'm missing a few.
Yeah.
And to one of the things I did, like even to acquire the Leaf, was I had to sell a couple. So it's on my, it's on my list to pick off and get them back again.
Yeah.
We do that sometimes, right? We move part of our inventory to acquire a bigger card.
Yeah.
We want to get that. We don't want to wait too long. So,
contrary
to popular, I have most of them. I don't have all of them. So
I'll tell you a Jackie story that'll kind of blow your mind. You remember back in the day when a guy that you profiled in Sports Collectors Digest once, Al Rosen. Remember when he had the Rosen fine of the 52 high numbers that they opened up? Yeah. Back then, my dad somehow, one of our contacts, my dad was able to get a 52 Jackie Robinson from that fine. We got the card. John, it was a blazer, man. I mean, it was off center side. It was like 2/3, 1/3, maybe, as I recall, but it was blazing. Gorgeous card. I think, and we sold it. Your dad paid a few $100s for it, literally.
Yeah.
And we sold it for more than that, but pennies of what we should have kept it. I think if I had that card now, it probably would have graded a 7 or an 8 or maybe whatever. I'm like, oh my God, that card in an 8, I'd be like, what in the world would that be worth nowadays? And that I had one at one time.
I'll just answer that like this. You'd have a lot more Eddie Murray cards.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I'd like to have the Jackie. I'd like to have that Jackie.
Yeah, no.
It was gorgeous.
No, and we, I think we all have stories like that, right? I tell the story, Jeter's SP rookie came out during my store years when I had my shop and I'm in New York. People loved him. I always thought at the time that he was overrated. I thought he was good. I didn't think he was going to be great. Right. So I just sold him as quick as I could get him. I'd buy them to resell them. Yeah. And for what I sold them for, I probably went through 140, 150 of those in a 2-year span, not like in a month, but over the course of 2 years, from opening the SP product to just buying the card and then selling them at the store. But I didn't think he was going to be what he turned out to be. Right. So we all have similar stories like that.
We never
have a mulligan, can have a mulligan on Jeter SPs that I went through, So, and vintage cards too. I had vintage cards back in the day that I sold. I sold Jackies to acquire other Jackies that probably would have made more sense to keep them and just buy the Jackies I bought and keep the ones I sold. So I think we all have those, things we regret, and it just comes with the collecting territory.
If you're around as long as you and I both have been, you're gonna screw things up. Wish we'd never sold all those old sets. Wish we had held on to that Robinson. Wish we'd done this. Even with my Murray, the biggest regret I have with Murray, I remember being at the National in Atlanta. This would have been 99, I think it was. David Adams had the gold, the mirror gold 96 Select Murray, which they only made 30 of them, and that's an uber popular set even today. And they had one, and I held it in my hands, and they wanted $100, and I did not pull the trigger. And I'm like, what an idiot, because one sold. They don't come up very often, but when they do, one sold on eBay recently for like $2,200.
Yep. No, so I tell the story. I tell the story even with the Jackie Leaf, which I do now own. I 3 times, Brad, I could have bought that way, at different moments, a lot cheaper than it wound up cost me. And if I could go back, if that DeLorean, I always joke, if that DeLorean was real, Me and
Mhm.
Dr. Emmett Brown would be going back to those moments, and like I'd be pulling the trigger rather than saying, "Nah, I think I'm going to wait. I'll get it another time."
Oh
Right?
God, yeah. I
Food.
think I think back to those early '80s, John. I mean, I was the kid, and I'm sure you were the same way. And it's why it's so cool that you and I both have become friendly with Dr. Beckett, which is just a joy. But I remember getting that Beckett every month and just poring over it and reading all the
Yeah, we wanted the
prices.
triangles. We
What
were
went
looking
up?
for
What
the
went
black
up?
triangles.
Oh no,
We
that
wanted-
went down. My world is ending. That went down. You know, all the crazy.
I read that thing like it was my job, and I
Yeah,
read it.
me too.
I read it. I read it like it was my job, and then I go through even after I read it. Who had all the black triangles? Who's the
Yeah.
guy? Right?
Oh yeah.
I think we all have similar stories, and
I was like a walking Beckett because my dad and I would be walking around shows on a weekend and be like, Brad, what's that book for? That book's for $22. I mean, I would like have it in my brain. I knew what all of those were. It was crazy back in the day.
well, people had that in their back, like folded up in their back pocket.
Oh yeah.
Like
You had to carry it. It was everywhere.
Yeah.
I
There was
mean,
no smartphones and scanning cards. It was
Yeah, we didn't
let me
have
pull that
comps.
out.
We didn't have eBay. It was just, it was, like you talked about 1984 earlier. We were all on strawberry hunts, searching
Yeah.
out. We called it berry hunts. We're looking for strawberries. We're looking for this. And just that was the thing, man. Now, by the way, you mentioned 84 Donruss. That is still to this day one of my very favorite sets. I absolutely love
I love it. I know it's not his rookie, and I'm a rookie card guy, but that Gwyn, that second year Gwyn in it is to me
They're
one of
awesome.
the best looking Gwyn cards, and it's
Yes.
just it's a great set, especially when you look at their 3 prior sets
Yes, which
earlier
were
today.
garbage. Well, they weren't all garbage. They weren't great.
Well, was comparatively speaking to the 84 Donruss, they were, but they whatever happened with whoever designed the 84 Donruss, they hit a home run that year with that.
They did. I still have a lot of them. I've actually got a bunch of them in screw downs. They're $2 cards, and I've got
even the backs,
I love them.
even the backs on those with the teal blue, like they're just it's a sharp looking 80s card. When you think about 80s cards design, it's probably for me it's number one in the 80s.
Yeah, I don't think I have a complete setup. I know I've got a bunch of stuff. I probably need to. I don't look through binders. I've got a good bit of binders. I should look through them more than I do, but that would be one that would be worth having in a binder because it's though it's just a great set. I totally agree. Great.
Yeah, no doubt. You got a Murray item which you showed me before we went on that I think's really cool. If you want to talk about it, it's not a card. It's not a card, but it's a really we talk about rare things or one-on-ones. I'm sure there was a few, but how many survived? Right? How many of these survived? So I'll let you. It's your item, but you shared it with me before
set it up.
we went on.
I was on eBay many years ago, and a guy had this. I'm searching at Murray stuff, of course. And this guy, there's a bottle on there, and I look at it and I read it. It was listed on eBay by a former coach of the Mets. I could grab the paper, but basically, it is a champagne bottle from, and I'll show it here on screen. Kind of cool. It's got the open bottle or there. And if you can read it, which you may not be able to with the thing there, but basically it says June 6, 1992, 1,510 RBIs, and it's signed by Murray in black Sharpie. And it's just a bottle of champagne that they opened. Apparently they did several bottles that night. That 1,510 RBIs, why that's significant, John, when he got that, he passed Mickey Mantle, who we talked about earlier, as the most RBIs all time by a switch hitter. So, and he still owns that record, which is finished up at 1,917. And he owns the record by tons. I mean, I think Chipper may have gotten to 1,500 as well. He was in that neighborhood, but Murray's got the record by 350, 400 RBIs. And I mean, that may stand forever. I mean, it stood for 20 something years, 25 years, 30 years almost now. It'll probably stand for a very long time. But anyway, the bot, I found it on eBay. I think I paid a couple $100 for it, and I'm like, that's one of the best deals I've ever made to get something like that signed by him with that significance, with that date on it, with a letter of authenticity from the coach. It's just a great item to have.
That's a personal item. That's not an 8x10 that you just hand him. That's something that was designed for the record.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Who knows how many of those exist? Maybe 2, 3, 4 at the most.
There probably aren't many. And I mean,
who knows? That you may have something for that matter, Brad. When you think about this, you may have something that Eddie Murray himself might not even have any, but like
he may not. He may not. Yeah, I'll read real quick the letter. It was Dave LaRoche. He was a pitcher back in the day.
He was a pitcher, for the Yankees, Pirates, I believe.
Yeah. To whom it may concern, on June 6, 1992, New York Met first baseman Eddie Murray drove in the 1,510th run of his career, breaking Mickey Mouse's record for career RBIs by switch hitter. In celebration of this event, Eddie Murray opened this bottle of champagne and toasted with teammates and coaching staff. Being a member of the New York Mets coaching staff at the time, I took this bottle that was opened on that occasion and had Eddie Murray sign it. Signed, Dave LaRoche, right there. So
listening to you read that, let's connect.
It could be. I doubt it's the only bottle. Surely they did more than one bottle.
The way he wrote that, maybe it was like just for the event,
right? It was.
And it almost sounds like it was it was just kind of left there, and he's like, "I'm grabbing this and having Murray sign it."
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they might have bottles of champagne. Yeah. There might have been 2 or 3 for 30 guys.
Maybe Murray has a closed one, but I don't know how many of these really technically exist.
I don't know.
That's pretty.
It's a cool item. Cool. I love having it. I just display it on one of my shelves here in my office, and it's just cool to have. So really cool. But it's I've got tons of that's something I want to do with my collection.
Time to hear from one of our great sponsors, but Sports Card Nation will be right back after that.
Hobby News Daily is your homepage of the hobby, providing original writing, exclusive gem rate data, a daily morning minute podcast, and some of the best content creators in the hobby. Remember, hobbynewsdaily.com and at Hobby News Daily on social. Happy collecting!
Iron Sports Cards is your #1 source for all your PSA and other grading submissions. Their elite status improves turnaround times. Heck, they even provide the card savers. Their chat rooms provide updates on all your submissions. They also offer wax options and single cards to cover all the bases. Check them out on Facebook at Iron Sports Cards Group or on the web at ironsportscards.com, or even give them a call at 1-877-IRON-PSA. Rob's got you covered.
Let's go! You are listening to the Sports Card Nation podcast.
I'm not a content guy. I love watching content and listening to content. Obviously, you, Dr. Beckett, Mike Summers, Mike Moynihan, many others. I love the content on YouTube as well as podcasts. I subscribe to multiple podcasts, John Keating, etc., who's also a friend who I got to know this year at the National. That was cool. But, it's just really, really cool to get to know, folks like that, and to, just share this collection, share the hobby with folks. And
are you asking me to sign? Yeah, are you asking me to sign the Eddie Murray bottle?
No, I'm not asking you to sign that. No, I'm not. No, I'm not going to deface it, John, by having you sign it. I love you, man. I'm not having you sign the bottle.
That's exactly what would happen if did it.
The value just got cut in half, or maybe in a fourth. It just got demolished.
Or even worse, you'll have to just cut the Eddie Murray auto out at the
absolutely. Yeah,
but that's just a great item that you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's behind me. I have a Cy Berger media spring training media pass.
Nice.
I've never seen another one anywhere.
Right.
So if I'm you and I have that bottle, every once do you do this? Do you ever check to see, hey, is there another one out there like this? So
yeah, I mean, if there's ever, I've never seen another one pop up. They certainly could. I mean, obviously, I don't see everything that pops up there, but it's a crazy thing. But yeah, it's there. As he said in the thing, there probably weren't many of them. You would think there might have been 2 or 3 or 4, but somebody they would have had 20 bottles of champagne for 30 guys or whatever. I'm sure it would have
Yeah,
been
it
only
almost
a handful.
the way the LaRoche lettuce sounds. He
Yeah,
it's like it almost sounds like it was one for the event where everyone was who wanted to partake. Who knows? Who knows, right?
It's cool. Yeah, I mean, I'd have to ask. Murray might remember. I don't know, or Dave LaRoche for that matter. Who knows? But very cool.
Yeah,
very cool.
So when
indeed.
you go to a show, what's your mindset? Whether it's the national or local show, are you like, hey, I'm getting some Murrays, or like where does your buying?
I don't really. It's sad with so much that I have and what I need is old. Yeah, you kind of asked earlier, and I think we got off track. But yeah, I do track my collection well between Beckett Organizer and spreadsheets. Yeah, I've got everything from, okay, these are like the standard cards that are on Beckett Organizer. Here's what I have. Here's what I don't. Then I've got spreadsheets of like, here's oddball stuff that's not on there that I have so that I know I have that, Then I have a list of, whatever, like these 3-dimensional kind of items like the bottle or stuff from the Hall of Fame or whatever. I have a list of all that. I've got a list of all the publications I have. So, if I've got all that on my iPad or even printed or whatever, and I'm at a national, I can look at it and go, okay, do I have that Orioles media guide? I probably do. Let me check. I can look it up and find out. As far as cards go, I do have a want list that basically goes, and I'm still kind of constructing it, but I do have a want list from the beginning of his career through the 04, 05. And as you can imagine, when you get into the later years, it's hundreds of items. The early years, it's hardly any that I need. So, yeah, there are items that I would love to pick up that are older, perhaps. And then when you get into the 03, especially 04, 05, it's all these different parallels and all that kind of stuff that came out. Like I was talking about the Hall of Fame set that I love so much. There's 180 of them. I've got 101, 105, whatever I've got. Well, that means there's a whole bunch of them I don't have, and those are ones, they pop up on eBay. I'm going to track them and I'm going to try. I may overspend for some of those, but I'm not going to overspend, as we talked about earlier, for yet another 2024 auto that comes out numbered to 25. I'll pick them up if I can get them cheap, but I'm not going to overspend. I'm going to focus on the older stuff that is a little more, career, playing career time or close to playing career time that are special to me. But so that's kind of my thought. When it comes to the national, I don't really go into there thinking I'm going to find many Murrays because I just don't think I will. Literally this year at the national, I picked up a couple items, nothing special that I got. I got a blank back like 85 All-Star Topps All-Star card. I got a relic card, recent like National Treasures. That's about it. Nothing special. I'm not going to find rare Murray stuff there that I don't think usually. I usually go to the national and I'm focused more on vintage, kind of like you, where you're focused on your Hall of Fame, who's my 2 or 3 or 4 I want to focus on this year. I usually go in there with an open mind and go, I want to pick up 1 or 2 or 3 nicer vintage cards. I don't even know sometimes I know what I'm looking for. Sometimes I don't. But
sometimes I don't, sometimes I think it's better not even to have go in without a list and just whatever hits you. I know you got some card. We're coming down the home stretch here.
Sure.
Brad, but if you want to share some of your collection, whether you got it at a national or however you acquired it, but go ahead.
A couple of years, This is, for instance, this is Jake Beckley. This is a T206. I got it in a 4. I got it at the Chicago National 23. It's a Piedmont back, nothing too special. But Murray actually broke his record for most games played at first base. And this is one of the few playing day cards that Beckley had. He's a Hall of Famer. He's a minor Hall of Famer. A lot of people don't even know who he is. But because Murray broke that record, I'm like, I want to get that card.
There's the connection.
That's the connection there for me. This year at the National, I picked this up from a very dear friend of mine. He had it. I picked up a Diamond Stars Melot. I did not go into the Cleveland National thinking I want to get a knot this year. I just saw it. It piqued my interest. I'm like, heck yeah, I want that. So I picked it up. So that's the kind of thing that I've picked up. I've got a lot of in my vintage that most of my vintage collection is either stuff that my dad and I had going back to the 80s. I would say probably 80% of my hundreds of vintage stars that I have are back that I've had literally 30, 40 years. Ones that are more recently acquired, I would have gotten mostly from my friend Roger Neufeld, who's a 80-something-year-old dealer out in Oklahoma City. That's a dear friend of mine. I've worked the last couple of nationals with him. He wasn't able to come this year, but I worked 2 nationals with him before that, and just enjoy helping him out at his booth and doing that. And dear friend. And that's what the hobby's all about. I mean, as your slogan says, the hobby is the people. I met so many awesome people through this hobby. I love the cards. I love going to the national. I love looking at cards and buying cards, etc. But going to that show really is, as I know you've said before, it's like a family reunion. You're going to see so many people that are great friends, from Dr. Beckett to yourself. I've met Danny a little bit. Also, Mike Summer and then these other friends. And even before, not even people I would necessarily see at the National. Being a Murray collector going back all these years, there are several Murray collectors that I have in my phone. I don't really correspond with them much anymore, but some of them, I've traded with or I bought cards from. They're older. They're looking to move on from their collection. I bought stuff from them. One in particular is a guy named Dwayne Crater that lives in Tampa. He had a huge Murray collection, bigger than mine ever has been back in the day. And I bought tons of stuff from him. I've been to his home multiple times. I mean, those kind of relationships are just cool. And that's the same guy that I went to the Hall of Fame with back in 2003 when Murray was inducted. So those relationships you make are just so cool. And it's great to have people as friends, share relationships with them. I just met 2 new guys this year at the National, 3 new guys I never met before that I met and I've become friends with, and we text each other every now and then. We're planning on seeing each other at future nationals. I mean, that kind of thing is really cool. And you actually met 1 or 2 of those. Tom Snell was one of them, and a guy named Robert Doggridge as well. And then a guy named Ruben as well. Are all guys that I met. They're so cool. They're great guys to hang out with and get to know. And that's just what's so great about the National, is seeing all these people.
It's very true. Here, as they say. And much like cards we add to our collections, right? We can add friends to our collective friends list as well. And sometimes they might last longer than the cards as we move cards here and there as well. And that's a great way to kind of finish for now. And for those, I know you're not big on social media. You're the smarter of the 2 on the screen here because of it. But if someone has maybe an Eddie Murray that they think you would like and wanted to check with you, how might they do that, Brad? Go ahead and give.
Like you said, I'm not. I'm not on Instagram. I've got a Facebook account, but I don't ever do anything on it. That kind of thing. Really, for me, texting and phone calls and email is fine as far as people reaching me. Actually, my cell phone, which I don't mind sharing, is 404-444-9393. Anybody who wants to reach out, happy to send me a text. That'd be great. Email is bradaskew@comcast.net. And, collect Murray. I collect vintage as well. I still love my vintage cards, but, Murray's the main focus of my collection.
So there you go. You got a Murray, you think, or you want to even be super nice and like, hey, I want to get this to you. There's how you get hold of Brad. And like I told you before we recorded, I had to look at some of my stuff. I might have some stuff too. I know I don't have a ton of Murray, but there might be something hiding that I can send your way as well.
Absolutely.
So, Brad, this was fun. I enjoyed it. We'll have to do it again. We'll be we'll have you back and kind of catch up again. So thanks for coming on,
John. It's been a pleasure. I really have enjoyed your content over the years. I've been a Sports Collectors Digest. I'm one of the still subscribed to it. I still get it. I enjoy your columns in that as well. And it's just a pleasure to call you a friend, my friend.
Well, thank you. Maybe you'll be reading. You never know. Maybe you'll be reading about a guy named Brad Askew. Who knows?
You wouldn't have much readership, man, if you did that. Don't do that.
No, listen, you'd be surprised. So, well, Brad, Well, Brad, thanks again, man. I'll be talking.
Yes, sir. It's a pleasure. Thanks so much, Sean. Have a great day.
Thanks to my friend Brad Askew for coming on Sports Card Nation, and really good guy. You know, the hobby is full of great people. He is just one of them, and glad to have him on the show this week and last week as well. So, again, shout out to our new sponsor, the Penny Sleever. Go to pennysleever.com. Use the code SCNation for 10% off your order there. And great supplies. I use them, and cheaper than maybe some of the bigger names, if you will. And go check them out.
Time for our Hobby is the People Announcer of the Week.
Hi, this is Danny Black with Baltimore Sports Collectibles, and I love what I do because the hobby is the people.
If you'd like to be the Hobby is the People Announcer of the Week, do a WAV or MP3 file and send it to sportscardnationpc@gmail.com.
That's a wrap for this week. Huge thanks to you, the listeners out there, because without you, there is no us. If you like the show, we truly appreciate positive reviews. Big ups to our great guests who drive the show and our awesome sponsors who make it all possible. Sports Card Nation will be back next week, but don't forget to catch either Hobby Quick Hits or Card Mentions coming up on Monday. I'll leave you with this. How do we change the world? One random act of kindness at a time. Remember, the hobby is the people.
For nearly 50 years, Sports Collectors Digest has been the voice of the hobby, bringing you comprehensive coverage of the sports collectible industry. From industry news, auction results, market analysis, and in-depth stories about collectors and their collections, Sports Collectors Digest has everything you need to know about the hobby. SCD is also your leading source for listings of sports collectible dealers, card shops, card shows, and the latest from the industry's top companies. To check out all the latest news or to subscribe to the hobby's oldest magazine, visit sportscollectorsdigest.com or call 1-800-829-5561.
Hobby Hotline is the hobby's only live interactive call-in show. Join some of your favorite hobby personalities every Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, to discuss the hottest hobby topics. If you miss us live, catch us after the fact on all major podcast platforms. Follow us on socials at Hobby Hotline.